This was never supposed to happen. All you wanted was to talk to him about what had happened. You never intended for this to get out of hand, more or less turn it into an argument over being worried about him.
Just give me space, alright?
He said, looking at you as he sat down by the coffee table, his eyes peering straight through you. I just want you to know that you can count on me.
I know,
he exclaimed.
But you need to stop repeating it every fucking time.
Well, I'm sorry I worry about my explosive husband.
Oh my fucking god. Just stop,
he mumbled.
You shouldn't even worry to begin with. I'm fine. I keep telling you 100 times, so stop asking.
You felt your stomach churn and your heart race. Your now worried eyes turning into ones filled with anger and hurt. You know what? Fine. Have your fucking space then. You grabbed your phone and made your way to the front door, refusing to look him in the eye.
Where are you going?
He questioned, eyeing your retreating form. Somewhere else but here. Have a think about what you just said, because it sounds like you can't or don't want to be around me. You walked out, shutting the door behind you without a care if he bothered to stop you from leaving. But what stung the most was that he never did. You stood outside of your home for a while, still feeling the sting, and decided to take your mind off of it looking at your phone. It had been on silent for the entire debacle with Katsuki, and it was only now you noticed countless messages and missed calls. You tried going through them all, but couldn't keep up with the speed they were coming in. Soon after, your phone rang, interrupting your read. It was Midoriya. Hello? You answered.
Traveler, finally, I've been trying to reach you and Ka-chan, but it kept going to voicemail.
He exclaimed. You heard a ruckus from his end. It was difficult to even catch what he was saying. Midoriya? What's going on?
The city downtown is under attack. Apparently there are new villains coming out of the woodwork, and they're with the League as well. We need the both of you here.
I'll be right there, you replied, ending the call and jumping into your car. You checked for your essentials. A water skin still full was all you needed before you turned to the wheel. Then hesitated. Pulling out your phone, you messaged Katsuki, relaying all he needed to know, even though the both of you were fighting with freshly hurt feelings. You knew it was best he was in the know. Midoriya had asked for the both of you. When you arrived downtown, everything was ablaze. People were screaming and running away in the opposite direction. Heroes were fighting against villains out in the public, while others tried helping the citizens get away from the area. You exited out of your car and ran over to the evacuation team, spotting Uraraka amongst them. Uraraka! You yelled, catching her attention. A sigh of relief escaped her lips upon seeing your arrival. Traveler, we didn't think it would be a big deal, but then others started to show up. Their quirks combined are too powerful for a small team. Are there any casualties? I'm not sure. Jiro and Momo were going to help me here, but I haven't heard from them, she responded. You eyed the scene, spotting civilians still escaping from burning flames. I can take care of the fires and fend off as much as I can, you suggested. I'll stay here then and take care of the civilians, Uraraka replied with a nod, handing you a small earpiece. Be careful. You nodded, taking the device and placing it in your ear before you made your way towards the chaos that now covered the once peaceful city. A temple that stood tall began to crumble from the intense flames, causing you to shield your face from the heat. You were worried about your friends in the middle of this chaos, but more so, Katsuki was on your mind. He hadn't arrived yet.
Traveler!
Your head turned to find Todoroki running towards you, his face covered in ash, sweat trailing down from his brow.
Todoroki, are you alright?
Suddenly, a large block of cement launched towards the both of you. Todoroki wasted no time in creating a shield of ice protecting the both of you from the oncoming attack. Villains swarmed the both of you as you shifted and pulled the water from your water skin. It danced in the air as if it had a mind of its own. You focused on its control, swiping away at your assailants like a makeshift whip.
Watch out!
Todoroki yelled as he fended off a few on his side. Sneaking past your water whip, one villain unsheathed his dagger, stabbing you in the leg. An agonizing cry escaped your lips before you swiped your water at the villain, forcing him to the ground and kicking him while he was down. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoed from within the surrounding buildings.
Ah! Help!
Cried a small voice. It was that of a child. With the little water you had available, you soaked yourself, hoping that it was enough protection against the licking flames.
No! You'll get hurt!
Uraraka yelled.
Help Todoroki, I'm going in!
You replied, ignoring her pleas until a hand roughly grabbed your wrists.
I said...
You were met with red, piercing eyes. Katsuki looked down at you with those same eyes when you left the house earlier that night, now donning his hero costume.
What do you think you're doing?
He gruffly demanded. You wondered if he arrived due to your text message, or if Midoriya was able to get a hold of him too before you left home, until you noticed his eyes drift towards your injured leg. His grip tightened around your wrist as he grimaced.
The hell? Who hurt you? I thought you'd be more careful than this.
He commented. The tone in his voice, despite it being rough, was concerning. It made you think back to your last conversation with him, causing you to grimace and pull your hand away from him.
I'm fine,
you replied coldly.
You don't have to worry about me.
You spotted the surprise in his eyes, but a glimmer of hurt crossed them as well. However, holding on to your stance, you immediately dashed towards the building, still soaked from the water you had left, and jumped into the flames. The sound of Katsuki's yell followed behind you, but you couldn't catch what he said. You were too focused on rescuing this child than to argue with him. The air felt so thick due to the smoke. After entering the building, your lungs began to sting and constrict.
Is anyone here?
You yelled, coughing in between.
Help me!
Cried the small voice in the distance amongst the flames.
I'm coming! Hold on!
Covering your nose as best as you could, you extracted some of the water upon your skin, dousing the more manageable flames as you made your way through the building. Every step you took caused the wooden floor to creak. It was too dangerous to stay for too long.
Where are you?
The sound of a loud creak caught your ear from above, spotting a large piece of the roof crumbling before it gave way. You jumped out of the way, finding any means to keep steady on the crumbling floor beneath your feet.
I'm in the closet!
The voice called again in the distance.
Traveler, what's going on?
Uraraka's voice echoed in your ear through the earpiece she had given you earlier. You responded while still making your way towards the child, knowing that the water available to you began to diminish the longer you stood in the flames.
I'm fine. I'm very close to grabbing the child trapped in here.
Traveler,
Uraraka?
You replied, but all you heard was the static. Her last syllables crossed your mind. Was she relaying a message about Katsuki? Your last few words were harsh before you ran into the flames, and it made you think about the last thing you just said.
You don't have to worry about me.
Refocusing your objective, you made your way towards the voice, finding a closed door within a small room. Opening it, you found a little boy in tears.
I'm right here, sweetie.
You reassured through your coughs. He didn't hesitate to wrap his arms around your waist, crying into your damp clothes. You held on to him reassuringly, finding a blanket amongst the mess that hadn't been charred from the flames to wrap it around him.
Okay, let's get you out of here.
You whispered as you carried him into your arms. Your coughs became more violent, the smoke almost choking as you continued to maneuver through the building towards the safest exit. The creaking of wood and fallen debris obstructed your passage until through the smoke you smelled something off, almost like sulfur. You had just passed by a kitchen, the stove top bare to the flames and the sound of gas escaping from it. Your heart almost stopped before you turned to the child in your arms, feeling their weight shift strangely. You were met with a mess, a melting mess, as the child disappeared from your arms.
Zero! Trap him!
Midoriya yelled, keeping his eyes on the Nomu that thrashed around the street.
Got it!
Sero swung his elbows, swinging around the Nomu and wrapping it as tightly as he could.
Todoroki! Now!
A sudden blast of fire swirled around the Nomu as if it were in a hurricane, cauterizing the tape onto its form. With a bellow, it fell to the ground, incapacitated.
We need to hurry. Bakugou and Kirishima may need our help,
Todoroki advised.
Right!
Agreed the other two heroes before they rushed towards the duo. Katsuki grunted as his feet skidded across the ground, his breath heaving. Kirishima stood beside him, eyeing the Nomu before them that refused to be put down. Both heroes were worse for wear, exhausted and beaten.
Damn it!
He yelled, frustration bubbling in his throat.
We're going to need a plan B.
Well, would you look at that?
A voice chuckled dryly.
Looks like you're all just wannabe heroes, after all.
Katsuki and Kirishima readied themselves before a familiar figure stepped out from behind the Nomu. Katsuki's eyes widened in rage once he spotted Shigaraki, eyeing a grin on his face behind the hand that covered it.
I see the little twerps are now big heroes. Such a shame that each one of you will end up dying today.
He threatened, his eyes glancing towards Katsuki.
It's not too late to join us, you know.
I'll never join you, you fucking losers!
Katsuki exclaimed as his hands crackled with tiny explosions.
You're going to regret the day you decided to mess with us!
Kirishima followed, rushing towards Shigaraki, hardened hands ready.
Nomu, take care of them.
The Nomu bellowed and charged at Kirishima, swinging its large arms at the hero. Katsuki eyed Shigaraki, watching as a dark portal appeared from behind him.
Oi! You're not getting away, you bastard!
Katsuki yelled, using his blasts to fly towards the villain. Shigaraki calmly stepped back into the portal with a small smirk on his face.
It's sad that one of you fell for the trap.
He murmured. Katsuki's eyes widened in surprise, catching those words before the portal disappeared. He flew through what remnants were left, skidding across the ground with a snarl on his face.
Crap. This is getting us nowhere.
Bakugou!
Kirishima yelled as he continued to fend off the Nomu on his own. Katsuki still knelt on the ground, interpreting the last words Shigaraki spoke. A trap for who? His mind wandered onto you, on the last conversation you held with him, and the way you spoke to him before rushing into the burning building. He wished the fight hadn't ended the way it did. A heavy weight of regret suddenly appeared in his chest. The fact that he hadn't walked after you decided to leave plagued his mind. He should have gone after all. You wouldn't be carrying those hurt feelings around during this time. All he could think of was if you were okay. That leg of yours looked worse than you had played off.
They're fine.
He reassured himself.
They have to be.
He stood to his feet, turning towards the Nomu now facing against not only Kirishima, but Todoroki, Sero, and Midoriya.
Damn it!
He yelled as he shot himself towards the Nomu, throwing a blast into its face with a cry filled with rage and regret. The Nomu cried from the blast, which made for a good distraction, as Todoroki quickly encased its legs in ice, and Midoriya, with the power he could muster, threw a punch, sending it flying across the pavement. All of the heroes stood panting as they watched the Nomu's form, unmoving. A momentary lapse of relief passed before the sound of explosions deep within the burning buildings erupted. Katsuki's ears perked and turned his gaze towards the building you had run into. The deep rumble of the explosion blasted through the flames, destroying the windows consecutively one by one. Shigaraki's words echoed back in his mind before he ran towards the building. Then suddenly, he spotted you, crashing through a window with your arms shielding your face. The blast of flames shooting out from behind you and causing your body to lash out from the sudden force of it. Your body flew haphazardly in the air. You winced in pain, feeling the heat lick against your now dry skin, and the force of the blast shook your very core. There was a weightlessness, and then a sudden comfort. You felt your body in another's arms. Peering through your eyes, you looked up to find Katsuki. He had caught you on your descent, despite how battered and bruised he was from the fight himself.
What were you thinking, going off on your own?
He questioned with a growl, his hand on your cheek.
I was angry.
You murmured through your exhaustion.
I was an idiot for not respecting your wishes. It didn't mean I wasn't worried about your dumbass getting hurt.
And you say I'm the one who insults people a lot.
You gave him a small smirk, weak, but still with a hint of playfulness.
Shut up. I was worried.
You coughed a few times, feeling a form of relief from the fresh air. Katsuki sighed in relief. You were the person he cared for so much. Thoughts ran through his mind on how he wouldn't know what he would do if he had lost you.
I was too.
He admitted.
I tried finding out about your whereabouts, but nothing came up before I got here. I should have stopped you. I shouldn't have let it all end the way it did.
I should have apologized.
You responded, tears pricking your eyes as they began to well. Katsuki smiled softly as he patted the back of your head, still in his arms before he hugged you close, holding your head towards the crook of his neck.
I'm sorry,
he mumbled into your ear.
I'm sorry too.
You buried your face into his neck, letting out a sigh as his grip tightened.
Fuck, I love you so much, idiot,
he whispered, kissing the top of your head.
I love you too,
you whispered back. With the little energy you had left, you intertwined your battle-worn fingers into his, feeling his fingers tighten around them. The most important thing that mattered was that the both of you had each other again.